Danny, great to see you. Obviously, NRL's kicking back off in Australia next week. Everyone over there really keen to see the footy back.
Yeah, for sure, Phil. It's the 28th of May has been spoken about for a long time. At the same time, it's been also a lot of ups and downs to get to that date. So next Thursday kicks off. So it's very exciting. We're the only sport. Well, we've seen the Bundesliga in soccer's kicked off, but there's not many sports at the moment going ahead, and the protocols that the players and the staff are living by at the moment to make sure that the government ticks this off is very extreme, and it's what we've all signed up for. But I guess once the footy kicks off, that's the main thing, to get people in your community, sport lovers, and the sporting community actually can see something and watch something to sort of give them something to at least be positive about. So that's a big reason, and also to kick this competition off. And we take on Canberra for round 3 of this competition. Sorry, the Panthers, and then we play Canberra. So we've got the next 2 weeks sorted. And so our home ground's not at Newcastle; it's at Central Coast. But our next 2 rounds are at Campbelltown, which is at west of Sydney.
Yeah, and does it feel like it's sort of the green shoots of normal life coming back again? The fact that the rugby's starting up again?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a bit of normality to it, isn't it? The sporting world, once you see your sporting teams kick off, and school goes back officially Monday over here for a lot of the kids. So I think that's starting to feel for everyone that are workers and family members and friends. And I think you can start to see it's not far off at a little bit of normality. So but sport, it gets a chance to sort of lead the way, and hopefully, my team, the Newcastle Knights, can put in a good performance. We've had 2 wins to start the season off, and we're at the moment we're very excited about taking on the Panthers in round 3.
And the Panthers had a good start to the season as well, so that should be a cracking game.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got plenty of talent, across the board. But we're without our superstar, I guess you could say, and Kalen Ponga is suspended, and Jaden Browley, who had been brought to the club to play in the hooker position. So he's out with an ACL for the whole season. But we've just signed a real important signing, and Andrew McCulloch will come down for the next 5 months, which is a good signing. So we've got a few players in and out, but Penrith have got Nathan Cleary out, which will, for a team like them, having their halfback out, is the leader of that club. So, but both teams are going to go in pretty hungry.
And the teams have been back in for a few weeks now. They stay staggered how they started, but they've been full on in training for this week. You expecting the games to be as intense as normal?
Well, it's difficult. They've only been doing contact for 2 weeks. So from our round 2 game to our round 3 game will be 70 days exactly. So for the players to, they've been training really good, but just that game fitness and the more mental side of competing, they're competing really well at training. But once you get into the real grind of a game, that takes a couple of weeks. So the boys will be right up for the challenge. It's going to be a really torrid 18 weeks. It's a 20-round competition. There's no breaks. It's there's 5-day turnarounds. There's 6-day turnarounds. It's you've got a squad of 32 that you can use, but some squads will you'll have to use a fair few. And there's been talk of rotations and how you're going to use your players. But for the English game, it's not not too uncommon to play a lot of footy. And I think in the NRL over here we play not as much footy as the Superleague, but these guys get an understanding of a torrid campaign in the rest of the year.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're hearing him whinging, you have to remind him about your days in Super League, how many games you had to play.
The Easter weekend, it's still one of my favourite weekends. Always, when I'm sitting here eating my chocolate eggs, I always think about my time over there in the Super League, playing in the Easter weekend.
And the NRL competition as a whole, what are you expecting from this restart? Do you think that those teams that maybe had a slow start in the opening 2 rounds can just use it as a complete reset?
Yeah, definitely. It's 2 games, and these teams that have won two games to start the season could come out and lose their first 2, and it's just at the moment there's a lot of stories around to fill up pages, and to fill up TV shows. But every team's going to go through some problems. You might lose one of your star players, and there might be a dip in form. It might take a while for your team to really pick up where they left off, going back, a couple of months ago. So it's been there's a lot of speculation around who's going to do well, but the biggest thing for me is the interest in playing the game, and all our supporters and all our fans. There's a lot going on. We've got some issues around our referees. We've got some issues around if we're going to see any crowds. The whole bizarreness of playing in front of no fans. There's only 6 grounds at the moment that we'll be playing the NRL, and those teams. Townsville's got a ground. Melbourne's got a ground. There's Bankwest, the Eels have got their home ground, and the other teams, we're all sort of travelling. So now all the makeup and all the stories and understanding how it all works, it makes for an intriguing 5 months coming up.
And in terms of that grounds thing, thinking particularly of Canberra, obviously Canberra's been their home ground's been a real boost to them, and they've had this good run in recent years. Could this test them having to play away from the capital?
Yeah, well, the big English contingent there at the Raiders. It's they've had a fantastic cup 12 months at least. Those guys there. Elliot Whitehead's been there for a couple of years now, and same with Joshy Hodgson. But the other guys that have come across, it's a real team that I think everyone loves to follow. It's a real tough English, those guys that have come out. And I love the English game. I love the English understanding of the game over there, and so I love always watching Canberra, and especially for those players like Luke, for Bateman and all those guys. They're just sensational to watch. So, but yeah, it's going to be difficult there at Campbelltown against us in 2 weeks' time. So we're looking forward to playing those guys. But they're on the road like us. Like we've got Central Coast is probably an hour away from Newcastle. So that'll be our home ground, and for the next 7 weeks. And I think the Raiders have got Campbelltown, so they're on the road for an hour and a bit as well.
And then looking at the Knights, confident that they can build on things this year.
Yeah, well, we've had a good start. Injuries and the like will take its toll especially in different circumstances. I'm sure it's about the team that handles the recovery and how that all works. And for instance, everything's on the day. So we've got to go to Townsville in round 7. So it's a long way up to Townsville. That's in and out in one day. So everything's chartered flights. So every time that North Queensland have to come down, it's all in one day. So everything's one day. You go into the stadium. Once you go into the stadium, you can't go on the field. You got to go up into a room, stay in the room, go down to the dressing room, get ready, go and play, get back in the bus, go home. There's a lot going on for the next little bit. For the players, it'll take them out of their comfort zone, preparing for games. So it's the teams that handle that the best. And what we've got a little saying, it's not what we can't do, it's what we can do. So, making sure that everyone's ready to go every week and every session is really important, because you're going to be definitely not comfortable in different circumstances.
It sounds like the team that can handle things mentally as much as physically over the next few months is going to be key.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of teams in practicing their well-being and their mental space. It's especially in isolation, which you guys are in over there, and all of a sudden you come back together as a team. Everyone's thought process is about how good is it to be amongst a team, and so it's a team that pulls together the quickest. Coming back into it now is going to get some success, and whoever's handled that 7 or 8 weeks off now and bounces back in next week, or you really definitely will see that the teams that have handled it the best, because we'll be on show next week.
Are the Roosters the team to beat once again?
Yeah. Don't fall into the trap that the Roosters have done. They've lost their first two games to the season, but they got too much quality. We've got a lot of quality in that team. There's no doubt. But no Cronk, who you could imagine it would be a real calming influence in a situation like this. They've got Kyle Flanagan, who's just starting off his career. He's only a couple of years in, and so I think that someone like a Cooper Cronk and a senior statesman will be really beneficial for any team. So not having him there will be difficult for the Roosters, but I'm sure someone will step up. Someone gets their chance, and that's what usually happens at the great clubs. Someone's willing and raring to go.
Just looking back on your career and your time at the Rhinos, How did the move originally come about? Obviously, you're a Newcastle boy. You'd come through the grades there. You play for them, and then the chance to come over to England.
Yeah, I had always aspirations to come over to England. Because I just respected so much about the game over there. I respected so much about the individuals. In my early, year 2000 through to probably 2008, when I played for the Kangaroos, we got to tour a lot over there, and we got to play against some of those Great Britain teams, which really got me inspired to go over there one day. Geez, it'd be good to play with some of those guys like Jamie Peacock and Dan Maguire, Rob Burrow, and Kevy Sinfield, and just rattling off a couple of names there. But I got my chance to have 3 years with those guys and to be involved in an amazing period for the club. And I really treasure my time over there with the individuals I got to play with and the success we had. So I love the club. I only want the best for it, and I've got a lot of respect for the English game.
And you were back over last year visiting. You called in to have a look at the stadium and the redevelopment. You were impressed with what you saw?
Yeah, Emerald Cunny, it blew my mind actually. I love about the English game how much you always look back and really respect the past, and I think that's what really is on show as soon as you walk into the great Headingley Stadium. Is you can see the new, but you can always look back and see the past, and that's the South Stand. You've really looked after that. And then you look across on the other side, and you've got that amazing facility to host the corporate world, and that's where the game is as well. It's all about the corporates, but you've really respected the true fan and the one that goes there for entertainment over that South Stand. So amazing, and that's what the club's all about.
Is there any particular games that you recall from your time at the Rhinos as a favourite memory for you?
The times we played at Old Trafford, like as a kid, I watched Man United play there, and all of a sudden you're out there running around, and I'm not really an emotional person, but I get emotional about thinking about that and watching Robbie Burrows score that try against St Helens to win that grand final. That's one of the best individual things I've seen, and to see him going through what he's going through, it's heartbreaking. So that was a memorable game. But anytime I got to my first game, I guess you could say, when I played at Headingley, I'll never forget. They introduced my name, and you got the South Stand applauding you, and then that's a pretty special moment to have that happen. So it gets me going just thinking about those times over there in the Rhinos colours.
And we're asking all our ex-Rhinos players to be ambassadors for their NRL clubs and tell Rhinos fans why they should be shouting for their team. So we'll hand over to you. Why should the Leeds fans be shouting for the Knights over the next few weeks?
Yeah, well, we've had some tough times. There's no doubt. We've got a new coaching regime here at the moment, which is a coach that's a really hard-working coach, and all coaches are hard-working. But his first year foraying into the coaching world, and he's taken to it really well. He's been Adam O'Brien's obviously our coach. He's been under Bellamy. He's been under at the Storm, and he's been at Trent Robinson at the Roosters. So he's been to a lot of grand finals, probably 6 in the last 10 years. He understands success, and I guess if you want to have a look, go, okay, how does it look? He's got all that knowledge, and how does he put it into his team? So it'd be good to have a look at his tactics and what he wants to do there. He's a really good man, a hard worker. So, and then you've also got the star pulling power of someone like Kalen Pong and Mitchell Pearce. Their attacking style is very suitable to the Knights, but the Knights want to be known as a defensive team. That going back on the philosophies of the coach, he's a defensive orientated coach. So I think as a club, we want to hang ourselves on being a resilient club and being a good defensive club.
You mentioned there've been some tough times there. You're a proud Novocastrian, and having played and captained the side. How tough have those times been? How good will it be to be up challenging once again?
Yeah, the community here has been crying out for something like to cheer for a long time. They're ready. We probably average the third most highest crowds every year, because they're just so loyal and so passionate about their team. And in amongst that last 10 years, we've had some real lean times. We've had wooden spoons. We probably had 2 or 3 in a row, and it's been really tough. And these fans here, I've sort of tried to put together a bit of a 97. The Newcastle Knights won the competition, and there was a lot of unemployment. There was a lot of parallels to probably what the 2020 group is about to go through. You know, the coronavirus, the unexpected circumstances of the Superleague and the ARL, and unemployment back in 97 to the unemployment now. There's so many people that are unemployed. They're looking for some inspiration, and at the end goal was the 97 grand final, which was one of the most fantastic games. But this group here has got a chance to sort of, you know, go through that with no crowds. 97, there was no crowds. It was the wettest season the Knights have had and the lowest crowds have ever had. So keep going along. There's all these parallels. So you just got to keep inspiring them to get to the end, and there could be a big party.
And what's your involvement? Do you have any involvement with the Knights now?
Yeah, I've taken on this role 6 weeks ago. So I'm a head of footy, general manager at the club at the moment. So I looked at Kev and for a bit of inspiration, looked at how that works. And there's some tough times, you know. I'm sure Kev's gone through a tough period there at the Rhinos, and you got an idea how things can be done. And this got tossed up to me 8 weeks ago, and I've been in this job for only 8 weeks, and the whole time it's been coronavirus. So it's been a real difficult time. I had a great 4 years at Fox, just calling the games and doing the commentary, and I absolutely love that. But I've stepped into this because I want to see the club do well. I want to see the people of Newcastle do really well, and I want to help and have an effect on that. So my family's grown up a little bit more, so I can commit a little bit more time to the game now. So they're long days, but I'm sure hopefully if you keep working hard, there'll be some reward there at the end.
Have you been swapping notes with Kev about the role?
Oh, not yet. I'd like to, you know, we've from a signing point of view and players, there's plenty of players that I've always dreamt of when I came back from Leeds, of having a bit of a loan system of sending players over there and sending players over here. And I'd really love to know how that could work one day. I've got my ideas and I've got my thoughts on it, and I'd love to connect with the club, and hopefully that is the Rhinos, and because I know how much talent's over there. And even if they come out here for a bit of, as we called over in the UK, a bit of warm weather training, when we went to Spain for 2 weeks, it was like, you know, heaven. But if we can bring some kids out here, and I know how strong the academy is, and I really want to help the Rhinos. I really want to help the English game, and there's plenty of kids here in Newcastle that would benefit from going over there and living amongst the mighty Yorkshire people, because they'll learn a few things, and I think hopefully that one day that can happen.